How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the American English Hub with yours truly, Jesus Flores. This is my latest IELTS mock speaking test. Just like before, I welcome your comments, feedback, and even suggestions for future videos. I hope you learned something from this and that it'll help you to prepare for your own IELTS if you intend to take the actual test. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to teacher Zoe from Italki for being willing to participate in this project. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. There you go. So go ahead, guys, listen and enjoy.
My name is Zoe. Can you please tell me your full name?
Yes, my name is Jesus Flores.
And what should I call you?
You can call me Jesus.
Great, thank you. Okay, so for part one, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. So where do you live?
So I currently live in the city of Battle Creek in Southwest Michigan, the United States of America.
What type of entertainment do young people enjoy in your hometown?
Well, here where I live, there's a variety of uh, activities for young people, ranging from outdoor events to music festivals. There's a lively business district as well that has lines of different kinds of restaurants to suit all different kinds of tastes. And a few times a year, there are parades in town to commemorate either the beginning of the summertime or more local traditions, Christmas
Okay,
festival, and
and
things like
what
that.
things don't you like about living in your hometown?
Well, I've been here now for more than 10 years, and one of the things that I don't like, and this will sound strange, but I don't like it that sometimes it feels as though I'm living in a ghost town. And the reason why I say that is because of the drastic difference in population here as opposed to where I came from in Colombia. I come from a large, bustling city, and this feels like a village, if I'm being honest. And so I miss some of that.
Great. And how would you improve your hometown if you could?
One of the things that comes to mind right away for me is to expand the availability of public transportation. In particular, I would love to see an expansion of an on demand transportation service that started 5 or 6 years ago. It would be wonderful to see it scaled so that it would have more coverage and more times available for service.
Great. We're going to move on and talk about weather. So tell me, what's the weather like in your country?
Here in the US, in my part of the country, we run the gamut. We have all 4 seasons, and I've come to really appreciate the cycle of such seasons. Um, it has its ups and downs, as you can imagine, but overall, that sense of variety has something that where I came from was lacking, and this is simply a matter of geography. But I do believe that it makes a difference.
Yeah. So do you check the weather forecast?
I do every day, and that's not something that I used to do when I lived in Colombia. Here, the weather is one of those things that dictates the pace of life and what activities you can do. And it's it's one of those things that I believe it's in your best interest to keep track of. It behooves you to do that here.
And does the weather affect your mood?
Yes, more so than I ever thought possible. I've had my I've had my bouts of um let's call it seasonal blues, On a day like today, for instance, where the sky is a blanket of steel gray, overcast, I feel kind of sluggish.
Great, thank you. And then a few more questions. We're going to talk about advertisements. Would you buy something because of an advertisement?
Most likely. I believe that I've already done that a few times in my life. And so, yes, I believe that I would be persuaded to buy something based on an ad on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or any of the other usual suspects.
Great. And do you prefer funny or serious adverts?
That's a great question. In general, because of my personality, I feel that an advert with a serious tone resonates with me better. I feel that silliness should be reserved for comedy and things like that.
Fantastic, great. That's the end of part one. So in the next part, I'm going to give you a topic. I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. And then you've also got 1 minute to plan what you're going to say and make notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Good. So I'm just going to send that over to you now. So take a minute and then I'll tell you when to start speaking. Okay, so remember you have 1 to 2 minutes to talk, and don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time's up. Could you start speaking now, please?
Yes, I'm going to speak to an experience that I've had very recently here, and it was quite positive, involving the use of Google's Gemini. About 6 months ago, I made the decision to embark on a weight loss journey of sorts. It involved other things as well, but the primary goal was to address weight loss, um, because at the time, this would have been November of 2025, when I went for my annual physical. I found out that I was technically in the category of obesity because of BMI, height, weight, and all of those things. And so that was the impetus behind this decision to embark on this journey. I used Gemini as a consultation tool. I kicked around a lot of ideas with it. I explained to it, what my goals were and where I also wanted to optimize and improve some metabolic markers and other aspects of metabolic health. It provided me with a wealth of information, as you can imagine, and I sifted through it carefully. I didn't just take the AI's word for it. I checked the sources that it was pulling the information from, but I was able to put together a solid plan that 6 months later, now to date, has contributed to a weight loss of about 25 kilos or 57 pounds in our system. I felt amazing about the results. I felt invigorated and also assured in my ability to take
Okay, thank you
control.
very much. Thank you. That's 2 minutes. Great. And do you think that AI will improve in the future?
Yes, and there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it will. Um, it is really hard to predict how it will evolve, but we have seen a tremendous. We've all seen the tremendous strides it has made in the last 3.5 years, and it's only bound to get more significant as time goes on.
Great. Thank you. So part 3. You've been talking about AI. I'd like to ask you some more general questions that relate to it. What are the advantages and disadvantages of AI?
Well, in general, and I would like to define the terms briefly here. When we hear the term AI these days, we are typically thinking of large language models or generative AI. So think of a suite of products, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, and the like. Broadly speaking, I believe that the advantages come down to a greater availability of information, a sort of a democratization of information, and um, encouraging people to make up their own minds and do research in topics or as regards topics that may have been inaccessible prior to the introduction of these tools. Now, on the other hand, some of the disadvantages largely revolve around the credibility of the information that you are being provided and the type of information that the AI models have been trained with. It is impossible to filter out bias that may have existed or most likely exists in the training data. And so there's also a word of caution there to not really take it all as gospel, but to take it, as we say, with a grain of salt.
How do you think AI will impact education in the future?
This has been talked about ad nauseum lately, and I've come across stories. I believe that we will see an explosion in personalized tutors for every student out there in the world. And I can foresee a number of effects that this will have. One, which I believe will be very positive, is that it will allow the human teacher to engage in more collaborative aspects of learning. The book knowledge can be, although not 100%, assigned or offloaded to the individual AI assistant or agent. Looking at it from a different perspective, there is a fear that it will not replace, but because replace is too strong of a word here. I do believe that it will take away some responsibilities from, again, human teachers that may have been seen as fundamental to their profession, specifically when it comes to the imparting of raw facts or knowledge. The AI technology definitely excels in that regard, and I don't believe the human teachers will be able to keep up.
Do you think that AI could ever become dangerous?
There has been talk about this as well. There's a lot of speculation when it comes to detrimental effects of the technology. One thing that has been suggested, again at length, recently, maybe in the past 6 months to a year, is that it will lead to an erosion of critical thinking skills because we will be basically outsourcing, and I'm using the word very loosely here, that type of deep thinking to an AI agent. Another one that I can maybe speak about briefly here is that the rise of AI companions specifically will potentially lead to more social isolation.
Great. Okay. Well, that's 14 minutes. So thank you very much. That's the end of the speaking test.
Wonderful.
Great. Well done. Yeah, that was good. That was good timing. Excellent. How did you feel about that?
I felt quite in my element, especially with the topic of AI. I've been I'm not an expert by any means. However, I have had enough of let's say interaction with the technology, and I can definitely vouch for some of its great potentials. I am very well aware of the pitfalls here.
Yeah. No, I thought it's a really interesting topic, and it's a new topic, and it is something that I think will probably come up in IELTS tests. And so that was great. Yeah, and I thought you really ran with it and really did well, because some people with maybe less expansive vocabulary could struggle with technology subjects in particular, I would say, or the usage, scrolling online, things like that. They get it all a bit wrong. So well done. Great. Okay. So I'm quite a mean teacher. And so I was kind of thinking before we met, because I've seen some of your things, I'll probably give him an 8, but actually it was above that. So, I'm always a bit scared to give anyone a 9, because I think of 9 as like the best human in the whole world. But actually 9 is fluency and proficiency and a very skilled use of language. So let's say 8.5 or 9. And I know, well, yeah, I just can't quite give a 9. Is that fair, or do I need to give you a 9? What do you think?
I mean, I leave it up to your judgment here. You see, even though I'm firmly convinced that I'm a C2 user of English, I'm not
Yeah.
expecting to walk out of every single one of these mock sessions, bagging a 9. That's not a realistic expectation. Jitters and general, nerves will always be a factor, to consider
Yeah,
here.
exactly. So like just occasional hesitation, slightly slow speech, some repetition, some pauses. But again, you do have to allow a bit of that, because you're not a robot. So I'm going to give you an 8.5, but bear in mind, I've never given anyone a 9. So there
That's
you go.
fair. I understand.
Yeah, you get it. Let's go with 8.5. I think, on some days I would be an 8.5, I'm sure. So a few notes. So great use of idiomatic terms throughout, and that's something I think you're probably quite a fan of, being an Anglophile. And so that's great, and they're kind of peppered throughout, which is really nice. And come out as quite natural, not as contrived.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, ghost town. I like drastic, bound to, ad nauseum. You got your detrimental in there, use of would, and kind of more conditional language. You don't link your words that much, but I do know Americans who don't. It's quite interesting. How do you feel about your word linking when you speak?
By that, do you mean
Connected speech.
well, it depends. As as a teacher, and also as a pronunciation coach, sometimes if I'm speaking in my teacher voice, there will be less of it within the chunks of language that I'm producing, or just spitting out. But I've seen plenty of instances, of native speakers intentionally slowing down and not using a lot of connected speech. The way that I guess would be, let's say a tad slower than you would expect it to be. The number of syllables per minute that I'm, producing maybe lower than whatever the threshold, or number would be. But I'm very, but I can do it, perfectly fine. The settings, in a way for me dictate, how quickly or how many beats per minute, I'll be speaking at.
Yeah, so it's not really about the speed, it's about the connection, all of the words kind of running into each other, if you see what I mean. But that is a case of accent. It's only because I deal with accent a lot as well, but I've noticed it with other people. And also in this setting, you're not actually necessarily the teacher, but you might be doing it intentionally for the audience, but I don't know.
Probably.
So it's only yeah.
It is for me a bit of a situation where there's a very strong habit formed, and it's really hard for me to break away from that. That's actually, interestingly enough, a piece of feedback that I was given by another one of these teachers online. I mean, meaning for
one
this
of these
project.
teachers. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, no, so it's more like an observation and a question, because it's always interesting. For example, this isn't my true voice, but I use it so often and I live abroad so much that it kind of is. But lots of people, if I meet them for the first time, think I'm from somewhere else or I am someone else because of the way I speak. And then if I'm with my siblings or someone I really know, then I think it completely changes.
There's always a bit of accommodation, going on, even among, or between, even when it comes to those, with whom we have a very close relationship. There's always there's always a bit of that accommodation going on. Like, I don't speak to my wife the same way that I speak to the children, for instance, even here. And my wife and my children, they're native speakers of English. And my, let's say the pace and the modulation is not exactly the same, when I talk to one and not the other.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love linguistics. I'm a massive geek. Great. We ran or run, I can't remember, the gamut, which I think is an idiom, but for me it's not something I would use or that I know very well. Is it modern? Is it a little bit outdated? I'm not really sure.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. All I know is that when you want to talk about a range of something, or let's say that there is there's a number of options or a number of seasons in this case. Running the gamut in this case means that all of them are covered, and so I experience them all. Where I currently live. There's or to put it very poetically, because I remember this from I had the chance in college to read the original Frankenstein novel by Mary Shelley, and the creature in one line speaks of a revolution of the seasons, meaning a year. Such a poetic, such a rich and just way to talk about the cycle of seasons. Talk about a revolution, in a very literal sense. And so that's what I mean by a gamut. We have spring, summer, fall, or autumn, and the wintertime. And the cycle, continues.
Yeah, great. I only just because I wrote it down and I can't read all of my notes as usual.
That's fine.
Can, but then they're not that important because you're just scribbling. And then the only thing I couldn't understand, which I'm sure you'll be able to explain to me, is something. It's just sounded. I don't think my ears got it. Behooves you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say behoove.
I don't know. I don't know what the hell that is. Sorry, pardon my French.
Oh, okay.
What's behoove?
Yeah, it's spelled BEHOOVES, because I'm using it in the third person singular there. It means that it is in your. It means it benefits you. And I believe I used it in reference to, I used it in reference to keeping track of weather conditions. And so it behooves you, to be on top of the weather conditions, I mean.
Okay. Yeah, that to me, that's like something crazy from a crazy world. I can understand it as a word, but just sounds a bit crazy. Nothing wrong with that. A little bit of crazy goes a long way. What else have I got? I think that's probably all of the notes that I have. Do you have any questions or
I
feedback
do.
or anything?
Briefly. So, how would you break down, or what scores would you assign to the 4 criteria?
Okay, yeah, I
You know
got
how that
them.
goes.
Yeah,
Typically,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range, and accuracy and pronunciation. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I should
just
have.
because,
Yeah.
yeah, just because
Mm.
if you're going to give if you're going to give a
Yeah,
band of
yeah.
8.5,
Let's.
the way to
No,
get
I should actually. Yeah, I've got to give
the
it
way
to
to
you,
get there,
haven't
I
I?
believe, yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
think the way
now
to
I'm
get
just
it
going to
is to
skew.
do.
I'm just going to skew the figures now, but because that's what kind of teacher I am. No, not really. So, okay, fluency and coherence. Avoid silence or hesitation. I felt you were fairly hesitant at several points, and of course, almost anyone would be because you were trying to gather your thoughts. But it was a little bit. There was quite a lot of space at the beginning of part 3, and in some bits of part 1. So I'm going to go for 8 for fluency and coherence. Coherence, I mean, actually, I could understand you completely, but it's more this fluency that, of course, you do come across as a C2 speaker, but there were just some sticky moments in there, I would say, so, which I don't think a native speaker would actually make if they were in that situation and they were ready. You know what I mean? Lexical resource, fantastic. Yeah, let's go for a 9 there because you threw in so many great idioms and some phrasal verbs, not millions, but some. So you've got an 8 and a 9 there. See where I'm going with this? Grammatical range and accuracy. Yeah, it's a shame. I'd have to almost listen back to check, but very long sentences, so using clauses and stuff like that. I don't think you made any mistakes, really. Let's go 9. Okay. Oh, this is quite difficult, isn't it? So I might be pushing you up here. Pronunciation. Yeah, so joining sounds together. I didn't really get that. Intonation, quite good. So if I gave you an 8 for this, then you'd reach an 8.5. If I gave you an 8.5 for it, I think that would bump you up to a 9.
No,
According
I
to
don't
my
think.
maths.
No, but typically, isn't it the case that the scores are rounded down instead of up?
No, I'm pretty sure they're rounded up. Aren't they?
I
No, they
I didn't
are.
think
They're
that could
rounded up.
happen.
I'm pretty sure they are. I'm pretty
Okay,
sure that's the whole amazing thing about IELTS is that you can say, don't worry, they'll round you up. Let's just check. Oh, I'm not online.
because that I don't know for sure. I always thought that they
No,
would
I do.
round
I'm
down.
pretty sure, but let's check it. Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure they round it up to the 0.5. So it's great. So if you can push a bit, you can really get there.
All right.
The nearest whole or half rounds up. So if it's a 2.5, it rounds up. If it's a 7.75, it rounds up. But if somehow it gets to like 0.15, it would go down. So it would round up. Yeah. So that's
All
a good
right.
piece of info for people. Yeah, it's really great. And the other thing about IELTS, as you probably know, and people out there probably know, is that they really don't mark you down. They're looking for all of the good bits. And then occasionally, obviously, if you make some horrible, nasty big error, then that might affect your score. So let's go for pronunciation. Let's go for an 8.5. Because the sun's shining where I am. And so actually that has just pushed you up to a 9. So again, it's 8 for fluency and coherence, 9 for lexical resource, 9 for grammatical range and accuracy, and an 8.5 for pronunciation. So congratulations, you have bagged yourself a 9.
All right. I
What
wasn't
a
trying
long
to be.
conversation to get there. Yeah.
I wasn't. Yeah, I was not trying to be pushy there. It's just that I wanted to, because you see, one of the one of the teachers on YouTube, that I did one of these with, my understanding from his detailed breakdown, or I mean feedback video, was that it doesn't round out. It doesn't round up. It typically rounds down if you get like a quarter of a band here and there, and then it just gives you like typically, for instance, I think you would get an 8.5 if you got 999 and then one 8.5. So you could have three nines
No,
and
no,
one 8.5, but
up,
it will round it down to
up.
8.5.
No, it's up. And I feel like I've known this information a long time and checked it many times.
Mm.
But well, maybe check with them. I'm always happy to be wrong. I think as a teacher, it's, you know, you have to be. And that's also why sometimes I am a bit between this and this with people, because, you know, it's not a real exam. But yeah, no, they round up, which is what we like. Yeah, great.
Okay,
So yeah, you did. You just rounded
sounds
yourself
fair
up
to me. Yeah,
by making me do that. That's great. Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And what else would
beautiful.
you like to know? Hmm.
Um, I feel that exhausts, the feedback session. I don't feel that there's
Yeah.
anything else, left to say there, other than, yeah, I really appreciate, your willingness to participate in my project, Zoe. I really, really do.
Yeah, no, that is fine. Anytime. I like anything slightly interesting and experimental for the cause. And also I know that it really does help people having these sort of mock exams and putting yourself out there. So thank you very
And that's a
much.
wrap, folks. Like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.